So some of you guys have done this exercise already. I'm stepping over that plate, I'm getting my knee down, and then I'm coming back and I'm getting this knee down. Some of you guys have done this in the speed code. I want to give you guys a couple pointers, a couple tips to get the most out of this exercise. First, you got to understand why we're doing this, right? So a lot of people take screenshots, they take pictures of an Allen Iverson, a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, where they're driving and they have these really steep shin angles. Now, we've talked about this so much in the past, but if you're new here, that shin angle allows us to produce more horizontal force. So if my shins are high, I produce force at that angle. It's more vertical. That sends me vertical. If I'm here and I have more horizontal shin angles, I'm sending force into the floor that way. That gets me that way faster. So that's one reason why shin angles really matter. Now, how do we get shin angles? There's a lot to it. One factor that we've talked about a lot is this ankle dorsiflexion, but I think that the industry's got kind of carried away with ankle dorsiflexion, because when we test ankle dorsiflexion, you keep your heel down and you see how far this knee can come forward without lifting the heel. And this is also the primary form of training. And I've used traditional dorsiflexion drills in the past, and that's good, it's fine. But dorsiflexion in sports, right, these screenshots that everybody's taken, it's entirely different than this type of dorsiflexion, right? This type of dorsiflexion is how do I load into that ankle when I'm already on the ball of the foot. So I have different things going on in the foot. I have different stiffness in the foot. I have more toe mobility than anything, because my real limiter here is, can I roll over those toes? If your toes are so rigid that it locks up here, I can't keep going lower, right? But even if I don't have good dorsiflexion, if I have that good forefoot, that good toe mobility, I can already get really low and achieve that really good shin drop. So getting really good shin angles in sports is actually entirely different than just traditional dorsiflexion ankle range of motion, right? Not saying you got to throw this stuff away, but I am saying we really got to prioritize that specific position if you want to actually improve that mobility. So the way that I like to do it the most, and we have a couple different drills, but the way that I like the most is I just hold onto a power rack or poles or two chairs, put it like a bumper plate or even like a small box. The better you get, the higher we can go, but I haven't seen anybody need more than like 12 inches. Typically just start on something small. And I start off in this lunge position, and then I work on these transition angles, because with shin drop, we can't just train that end range, we got to work on the transition angles. In a game, this is where my shin would start vertically, and I need to get it horizontally. So that's what we do in training. Starts vertically, and I push myself forward, and I let that shin drop, 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 drop all the way until we get to the floor. The cool thing is, I'm loading more of the soft tissue around the ankle early on. Now, the cool thing is this early stage. So what I mean by early stage is this right here, while my heel is still either down or relatively close to the floor, maybe it's just a little bit off. I'm challenging those ankle tissues. I'm challenging that traditional dorsiflexion range of motion, but then I allow my heels to rise. And as I come lower, now I'm challenging more kind of forefoot mobility. And then as I get towards the bottom, I'm really just challenging toe mobility. So I just got mobility from the ankle through the forefoot into the toe, just like I would in sports, right? You got to start with these relatively vertical shin angles, and I got to get into that position. So I'm not getting the same mobility required for this by forcing my heel to always stay down and do this. These are two separate worlds. And so we'll normally start pretty low repetition. It could be like 6 to 8 reps, couple sets a day. And I'm just starting here, and pull yourself forward until that knee gets down to the floor. If you can't get it down to the floor, don't force it. A lot of people actually do lack that toe mobility. If that's the case, just work with what you have. Go to moderate discomfort, but don't push past that. A lot of people think that you can't get hurt in mobility because it doesn't involve high forces and high weights. You can. If you have a certain structural limitation or a soft tissue limitation and you're just trying to jam through it too fast, a lot of times you can run into issues. So be cautious here, work with what you got, and then gradually push a little bit out of your comfort zone every time you do it. So you could go here or just work with whatever you have, all right? And then gradually work until you get your knee down to the floor. Now, a lot of people do ankle dorsiflexion for jumping higher, right? If I have decent ankle dorsiflexion, I can now get down into those positions. If the ankles lock up too early, I can't go any lower, right? But again, they do it in like only the traditional ankle mobility drills. Well, that's also different than how we jump. If you look at an approach jump, you're stepping in and you're going to strike initially on the heel. Typically on the back outside part of the plant leg of that heel is where you're going to strike. But from there, I have this gradual roll from heel towards ball of the foot and toe, right? By the time this foot is down, this heel is already off the ground. So again, yes, I'm getting a shin drop, but it's happening with an active foot. This shin drop and this ankle mobility is happening along with this forefoot mobility and the toe mobility. So it's actually not very similar to all heels down dorsiflexion. I have to train myself for this full ankle rocking action, right? Not heel stays down. It's a full ankle rocking action. Everything has to be coupled together. If I actually want to mobilize the correct tissues, I would have to train it all together. And I found that this drill does that the best. And I might even get to the point where I can double up and now I'm nice and high, and that's going to challenge my toe range of motion even more. It's going to challenge my ability to really get that good shin drop. Now I get out on the court, I get out on the field, and getting that shin drop just feels natural because I already grooved the pattern with this drill.